All right, technical session number 28. Configuring email on mobile devices. Throughout this technical session, we will be able to name the possible protocols that can be used to access email accounts. We're going to get our first look at some ports on this one, which are going to be kind of important. We're going to be talking about some underlying security protocols, and we're going to be setting up email. So we're going to also be able to identify the most common major personal email systems that clients may want to use and name the steps to setting those up and configuring personal email accounts through these systems on both Apple products and Android as well. And then we're going to be talking about some common pitfalls when configuring or establishing email accounts and mobile devices, including security concerns. Behavior skills and mindsets. We want to keep in mind adaptability, constantly able to adjust and change our behaviors and skill sets to an ever evolving environment, and persistence. We keep going till we get it right. And even if we are unable to solve said problem and we hand it off to tier 3 or tier 2 or what have you, we maintain persistence because we want to know how that problem was solved. So the next time that problem occurs, we'll have that skill in our tool bag. And every tool that we can acquire makes us more valuable to our team and to our company. All right. There are 3 primary email protocols that we need to be aware of that you would use typically on mobile devices. You have 2 for inbound and 1 for outbound mail. So our inbound mail protocols are POP3 and IMAP4. And the outbound protocol is SMTP. Simple way to remember that: send mail to people. Quick and easy way to remember your outbound mail protocol. POP3, client server protocol, where the email is received and held for you on the server. And periodically you would go and you would refresh your email and it would download that email to the device you have. And POP3 is designed to delete the mail on the server as soon as you download it. So once you pull it down, it deletes it from the server. It is solely on the device that you have at that point, which can make it difficult if you're using POP3 and you're using multiple devices for your email, because you'd have some email on some devices, some email on other devices, not all of them in one location, which can become difficult at times. And then there is IMAP4, which has more user capabilities for retaining the emails on the server themselves and then organizing it into folders on the server. But it also allows simultaneous access by multiple clients. And the nice thing is if you delete it here, it deletes it across all devices. So what you do in one carries across to everything. POP3, if I delete it, like if I've downloaded them, say to my phone, and then it's synced with my computer, so I have it on both devices. If I delete it on my phone, it remains on my computer. So IMAP, if I delete it on my phone, it deletes it everywhere else. POP, it only deletes it on that particular device that I've deleted it on. The other thing we need to be aware of is something called ports. And what ports are protocols that essentially tell the computer what systems we're going to be using for communication. So for POP3, they use port number 110. Yes, we need to know this. There's going to be, let me try to think here if I remember correctly, there's 65,000 ports on a computer. So 65,000. Good news is for A+, we only need to know about half of them. I'm truly kidding. We only need to know about a dozen or so. So started getting some worried faces in the crowd. They're like, okay, 3,200 ports. All right, I got this. You know, like I appreciated the, you know, like people getting ready to step up. But no, it's only about a dozen or so that we need to know. And we have a nice little mnemonic that will help you remember the ports. So POP3 inbound mail, port number 110. IMAP is another inbound mail protocol, slightly different, has better security. Its port is 143. And then you have SMTP, which is Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, or send mail to people. And that is port number 25. So I would write those down, start remembering them. We're going to be giving you more a little bit later, as we will be building upon these. And like I said, there's, you know, like, was it about 12 to 15, would you say, Rachel, what they need to know?
Yeah, maybe
I remember
more.
correctly,
I
maybe
think
more.
I thought it was over 15, but
That was over 15. We'll have to get a count.
We use IMAP for the most.
Depends on your server, honestly. Okay. There's still a pretty good split between POP3 and IMAP, depending on what you use it for. Like, you know, depending on your company's data requirements and stuff like that. So when you're configuring your email, you need to tell your mobile device whether you're using POP3 or IMAP4. If you're using one of the common email servers like Outlook or Gmail, it's pre-configured. It pretty much knows what it's doing. But if you're using something that's not within those protocols or a corporate email account, you'll have to know which ones they're using. And typically they'll tell you so that you can set it up. So you need to configure the device to the IMAP or the POP3 so it knows how it's going to be receiving email. And then you need to let it know the SMTP protocol for the outbound. All right, so since we, after the last session, have a little bit better appreciation as to why we would want to encrypt our data, we might want to add some security protocols on top of our email systems that we're using. Most email servers traditionally use one of two. You have what is called secure sockets layer or transport layer security, so SSL or TLS. So you may see POP3 with TLS or IMAP with SSL, something along those lines. More often, you're seeing TLS over SSL because TLS is a replacement for it. It is a higher level of security. SSL, to a degree, is considered a cracked security protocol, but it's still better than nothing. And then here are the associated ports if you're applying security to those emails. So you have 995 for POP3 with TCP, which is the port, excuse me. So you have IMAP is 993, and then SMTP is 465 for SSL and 587 for TLS. Is this making sense a little bit? You know, think of it like a room with a lot of doors. You have to open the right door to get into your house. So the port would be the location of that door to get in. Other settings that we can use to add security to our email is something called Mime. Secure multi-purpose internet mail extensions. You don't need to know a whole lot about this, except that it adds extra security to your email service. So if ever you see S-MIME, you should instantly think email.
Yes, this is very important. S-MIME, S-MIME.
S-MIME, email security. S-MIME, email security. Like, cycle it in your head. We got to know that. And this is how you configure your so-called digital signatures, so that they can verify that that email came from you and the level of encryptions you're using. Questions so far? This is the heaviest part of the presentation. It's downhill from here. All right, so we got our light introduction to ports. We got our 110 for POP3. That's plain old POP3, no security. 143 IMAP, no security. SMTP, no security, 25. And then we move up. POP3, 995, IMAP, 993, and then SMTP 465 for SSL, 587 for TLS. All right. Microsoft Exchange provides a special type of server called an Exchange server. Usually large businesses or corporations would utilize something like this so that employees can access their emails and all the shared links, calendars, messages, not just at the office, but at home or in travel, stuff like that. So it allows for a lot more functionality with the email. And then you have EAS, which is a Microsoft protocol, which is used to synchronize that email and contacts and calendars across all of your devices. If you ever set up an email, it's like, would you like to link your calendar to this email so that we can send you notifications and all that fun stuff? That's pretty much what this is. So it kind of links everything together so that you have that seamless experience across devices. So that's what they were trying to incorporate here. Also, it has a capability to set up and secure your email options and create settings and passwords so you can remotely wipe or lock mobile devices should you lose them or they get stolen. So it's another application for that. The setup for Exchange is not much different than other setups, but may require some more information from you. The general information you need to provide for any email service, you need to have the Exchange server address. You need to have the username and password of the account to which you'll be accessing, and then domain name for the account, all of which should be provided by the IT department.
And I think when I was testing, I was specifically asked to set something up like that.
Oh, you were actually asked in the performance space to set one up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Those 3 bullet points are
okay. So you had an email server username based off the information they gave you in an email.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you need to pull out what information you needed and put in the right. Okay. Good to know. My memory of the test is getting hazy because it was like a year and a half ago. Yes, Cedric.
Yes, Mr. Kelly, I would like to know what should I understand by Exchange server address?
That would be like, if it was, X corporation, so it's like after the @ symbol, so my name is like first name dot last name at hotmail.com. The at hotmail.com, I believe, would be my Exchange server address.
Okay, so is that the email address of the other person or other company? Or not really?
It would be like the domain of the company would be like the whole web piece of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then there would be the Exchange server, which should be like whatever at whatever corporation.edu.gov.com, whatever. And then you have your username and password for your account.
Okay, I see. Thank you.
Mhm.
Most of the time it's like webmail.companyname.com.
There you go. A little bit clearer than I could put it. Thank you. All right. Email and mobile devices. So almost every modern mobile device comes with email services that you can set up specifically from the operating, whoever created the OS system or operating system developer, as a starter, if you so choose. If you have an Android, you're likely going to already have the Android Mail right here. It'll integrate with your Gmail. Apple, you have the fun little envelope, which integrates with iCloud Mail. And then Windows Phone, for the 5 people who use it, integrates with Outlook. So you can still hook them up to other services. It's just a little more seamless this way. But otherwise, they'll give you an option of different servers you can access and other ways where you can go back and quite literally just put in this information here and still gain access, even if it's kind of a less known email provider. All right, so common email providers from the integrated service. These are the most common ones, such as Google, Yahoo, Outlook, and they're easy to configure on each service. Thankfully, you just need the email and password if you're using one of the primary ones like you have here. We got Exchange, MobileMe, Gmail, Yahoo, AOL. Yes, AOL is still a thing. I know many people have forgotten about it. Ever since the Tom Hanks movie, they thought it was no longer a thing. But AOL is still around. People still use it. It's still one of the primary options. Now, what about later services that were really big, like Hotmail? Why is Hotmail not on here? Can anybody guess? That was one of the biggest ones around for a little while, one of the free providers, but why is it no longer here? Anybody want to age themselves and say they still have a Hotmail account? I do.
Well, Microsoft rolled it, because it's a personal device bit, and Microsoft moved away from Hotmail as the carrier for business mail at all. So they just basically give you Exchange or Outlook setup. Is that the answer you're looking for?
Well,
or?
You danced right away from it, but you were right on it.
Okay, so
Microsoft
all right, so it's non-business. Okay, go ahead.
Microsoft bought Hotmail.
Yes.
And rolled it up into their product. So that would still fit under the Microsoft Exchange server, wouldn't it? Because it's a Microsoft product. Right?
Yes, that's it.
That was, and that's
But they
primarily.
definitely don't push it though. They're pushing the Outlook now completely. It's like they bought them and it's like, hey, never mind.
Yeah, and even if I try to log into like Hotmail, it immediately redirects me to Microsoft Exchange.
Yeah.
If you do have a Hotmail account, please don't put it on your resume. Create a Gmail account, because if they see Hotmail on your resume, they're just going to be like, this is a person who probably still has a MySpace page. So I'm still fond of mine. I keep it around for nostalgia's sake, but now, whenever a company asks for my email, I give them my Hotmail account, and then I use my other account for, friends and family communication.
Mr. Kali, what about Yahoo Mail?
Yahoo Mail, I mean, they're still viable currently. But yeah, they'll still be okay. Yahoo Mail's fine.
Okay.
But yeah, Hotmail, don't put it on your resume. That's just pro tip, especially if you're in IT. Because they're going to expect you to be kind of more up to date on current services. So thankfully, if you're using one of these primary ones, MobileMe became iCloud If you're using one of these primary services, it's just username and password and you're in. That's all it is, which is really nice. Common email apps, because you can use third-party applications to access your email if you want to do that. And you don't want to go through the primary email server on your phone. Gmail has their own, Outlook, Yahoo, they all have their own third-party applications you can download to your phone and just get directly into your email from there if you so choose and don't want to use the preloaded apps provided by your phone provider. All right. On to the meat of the subject, configuring our email. All right. Term for the day, FQDN, or fully qualified domain name. That is a really long way of saying web address. So, been able to set them up. You need the FQDN, or fully qualified domain name, of your POP3 server or IMAP server. In your setup, it may be identified as incoming. They may not call it a POP3 or an IMAP. So depending on the phone you have, it may vary. You also need the fully qualified domain name of your SMTP server. And this is your outbound email. Who remembers the port number?
Is it 113?
Not 113.
20.
25 outbound. 110 is your POP3. I'm not expecting any, you guys to get it right now. I absolutely am not, but it's just one of those ones that we're going to have to keep in our minds. When I came in, remember I told you when I came in, I wrote down certain things on the board every single day so that I remember them. I drew out the RAID arrays and all that stuff. My port numbers was another thing I wrote down every day. I came in, I wrote it down twice a day until I got it. And I could do it without fail each time. And there's a mnemonic that will help you remember them in ascending order. So it makes you easy to, remember, like, oh, I can't remember what SMTP is, but you can see what it's in between, and that'll give you a range where that port number should be. So little tricks will be giving you along the way. So we need that SMTP server going outbound. So you need the port numbers for both types. So our inbounds, we either use our 143 for IMAP or 110 for POP3. We use our 25 for our outbound so that it knows what we're using. Or if we're using SSL or TLS, which is the security protocols, we would have to put in those port numbers so that it knows we're using a more secure email transmission. So that's where the port numbers start becoming very important. So once we have this, the next 2 slides or so will show us how to configure it on Apple. Here's where we go. We go to our settings, passwords and accounts, and then you tap on add an account. If we're not using one of the primary emails right here, we would tap other to add another account. And then we would add our mail account, enter your name, email address, password, and then you type in a description of your account. You could call it, Kelly's Bills email, where I would, give any company that would send me a bill would have that email account. And then next you would choose whether it's IMAP or POP configuration. So the incoming mail server understands, set your outgoing, tap save, and then you're good to go on that. Yes, Modena.
I just wanted to ask again, you said the POP and the IMAP is for inbound mails.
Correct. That would be the mail that you're pulling down from the server. So the mail coming to you would be IMAP 4 or POP3.
All right, and the SMTP is for outbound. Send mail
to people. Yes, SMTP. Send mail to people.
All right, thank you.
Not a problem.
Kelly, that slide was an important slide for me for when I took the test.
Screenshot. Take a moment, get a screenshot. I respect that.
And I don't know, like the POP3, is that post office protocol?
Yes, that is post
Yeah.
office protocol.
So for me, I was thinking, you know, you receive the mail from the post office first.
Okay.
That's just what worked for me.
Everybody has different methods, and I love some of the stuff that, you know, because I use brute force memorization, which does not work for everyone. Marvin had like this like little graphic that had a whole bunch of pictures on it, each one for each type of port, and it really worked for him. I'll see if I can get a hold of that graphic, and it kind of helps you because each little icon or picture kind of shows you exactly what that protocol is for. So
that's good.
it kind of helps you remember it. And
because I think we have to learn, I think it's 23, if I'm
okay,
mistaken.
because he was far more creative with that kind of stuff than I was. Not gonna lie.
Are we gonna have this in labs?
I'm glad you asked. You're welcome. Yes, we will have him in labs.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome. So yes, there is a setting up email on a lab in test out. So, and I can't remember if they have one in Coursera off the top of my head, but they may. All right, everybody got a screenshot of this one before we move on? All right, next, setting up email security in Apple devices. At this point, you would click on the advanced icon to edit your incoming mail server. And then you could toggle the on button for use SSL, which again means secure sockets layer. And then you could set the authentication method to password if it is not already. And then you click back to your mail settings screen. Then you can click on your SMTP, edit your outgoing server, and then toggle on the SSL as well. Button for use it, and then you can set your password authentication as well, and then you back out of it.
Again, screenshot. Yeah.
There are some maps, like routes to get to things that they really like to ask about. I don't know why, but when we come across those specific maps for the specific versions, we'll tell you. So, and this is probably one of them. Yes, Danielle.
Okay, so I'm just trying to understand, like, how does this secure your emails? Does it, when you send it out, does it like encrypt it?
Yes.
Does it like, okay, so encrypt it.
Mhm.
When you send it out and when you get it.
Yes.
So I could do this to my phone?
Yes.
Wow, thank you.
But depending on the protocols, it may require what's called a key exchange. But we don't, that's beyond the scope of the course for that. But yeah, in a base sense, yes, that's what it does, is it encrypts your email.
So if I send an email this way, if they don't have the key, they won't be able to read my email, right?
Yes, but you can set a password, which you can also send to them and they will have it.
Gotcha.
And again, this can also get into what's called the key exchange, which you have private and public keys, which one locks, the other unlocks. And then there's an exchange of keys over time so that you're able to handle those messages. Mime, as Oscar is pointing out, also does this. There's a couple of subjects I know if I start talking about them, I'll go on for over an hour, and I don't want to do that to you guys yet. We can't go that far into the weeds. All right. Setting up your email for Android devices. I know this may be a little outdated based upon current Androids, but this is how they view it with regards to A+. And it should be relatively similar to how it is done now. So if you are an Android person, please take note of this. Or excuse me, if you're an Apple person, please take note of this because we need to know how the other half lives. All right. So from here, click on your email icon. On the page that follows, you can select add an account. Type in your email address, click next, select whether or not you want to use your post office protocol or your IMAP. And then on the next screen, you enter your username and password. The FQDN or fully qualified domain name of the incoming server, the port number you wish to use, and the security type if one is used. And then you'll do the same for your outbound FQDN of your SMTP, port number, username, password, and then select require sign in. And this is for the primary Android email setup. This would not be for a third-party app for email. Oscar can tell us if this is accurate. So. All right. We shoot for 50%. All right. So another good one to take a screenshot of, because this is the steps that they talk about with regards to the A+ for 1001. All right. And here's kind of a visual representation of the same thing. If you want to take a screenshot of this, if this makes more sense to you. And here's setting up an exchange direction. So I would go ahead and copy this page, take a screenshot. If you're setting up an exchange server, you got to open the mail application, enter your email address and password, click next, and then click exchange account. At this point, you'll need to enter your domain username, password, and exchange server address. Check use secure connection. And then you would go on and accept all SSL, secure socket/certificates. Certificates basically just authenticate, who you're dealing with. Again, beyond the scope of the course, but we just need to be aware of it. After authentication, check the boxes associated with the features that you want, such as like pushing emails, like you wanted to check every so often. The amount to sync, how much data do you want to sync to your phone? Do you want to do all of it? Or, the last week, the last day, what have you. Notifications, sync your contacts across multiple devices. Calendar, all that kind of stuff. Next, click on the next screen. And then you can give that account a special name, which could be Kelly's generation account. Don't give them all the same name because that can be really hard to find. It's kind of like the one time I was moving from here to New Jersey and I got so tired of packing, I quite literally started labeling things box 1, box 2, box 3, box 4, not what was in those boxes. And when I got to the other end, it was an absolute nightmare. So you don't want to be clicking through all your different emails to try to find out which one is my work email again, and just, sifting through them. Make sure you label them to where you'll be able to identify them easily. I'm not sure we even need to talk about this one. I would just go ahead and take a picture of it and just have it. It's pretty self-explanatory. Setting up email on a Windows phone device, but unfortunately, there really aren't many of these out there. It is extremely unlikely you would ever run across one of these at this point. So I would say take a screenshot, have it for your notes. I would just go over it a little bit more. I'm sure there's somebody out there. There's got to be a Windows phone fanboy out there somewhere that's just like, you know what? One day the rest of the world will realize its mistake, you know, and they just refuse to give that sucker up. You know, I'm willing to bet there's at least a couple out there. They may not be supported anymore, but it's probably
Admit it,
somebody.
Kelly, you're that fanboy.
It's you know, it's something I've been trying to hide from the public for a long time. You know, I have 3 of them in my office.
Well, it's like Greg and his Zunes.
Yeah, right. There you
I
go.
was about to say that. For real. I'm with that with Zune. Zune only though. Zune only. They give up too easy. I tell you, they give up too easy now.
Some pitfalls you may come across when you're configuring your emails. Remembering the username and password. It is tragic how often people forget their passwords to their emails or any of their accounts. Because we get so much into the habit of just saying, I want the system to remember it, you know, just put it in my keychain or whatever, and then I don't have to deal with it anymore. And then when it comes time to updating something like that, you don't remember it at all. Unfortunately, without your username and password, it is impossible to configure that email on the device you have. So you're gonna have to go recover that email name and password from a known device, get that situation straightened out, and then you can come back and finish installing it on your mobile device. Know your provider's settings. If you're manually configuring an email, you need to make sure you know their provider settings. Are they using POP3? Are they using IMAP? Is it using SSL? What configurations are they using so that your systems can talk to each other? And then if you receive some error messages, if your email's been working for a while and suddenly you're getting errors, it's not connecting to the server, not downloading emails, stuff like that, is likely either the incoming or outgoing server is down, or the DNS itself has quit working, or something, you know, maybe they changed the location of the DNS address, like they updated it to a new system, and that hasn't been updated in your records yet. So all these things happen. It's usually something small, and based upon the errors or what's happening should lead you to these answers. But that will become a little bit easier over time with repeated use. You develop that muscle memory, which is why test app is so important. Don't make me start calling people out about, you know, like, hey, your test app usage is terrible, just to let you know. You know, so I was looking at your lab scores, meaning there are no lab scores. You know, I don't want to do that kind of stuff. I will give one shout out though. Ebony is crushing it in test out time. Absolutely crushing it in test out time. So she's doing really well with that. All right, error messages. This is basically what we gone over before, so don't worry about that. Do we have a video for setting up an email? Oh, even better, we got a quiz. Where do we want to go? Do we want to go to beach, under the ocean, or Himalayas? Let's go to the beach. Why not? We have come to the end of our session. We should now be able to name the possible protocols that can be used to access email accounts and describe the steps setting them up. So what are the 3 main protocols we need to be aware of?
Y'all can have a snack.
Good, that's cool. I'm hungry. So what are the three main protocols?
Pops.
Top three.
IMAP 4.
IMAP 4.
SMTP.
Send mail to people. There we go. SMTP. Send mail to people. Very good. Nice work, Stephanie. Was that Metchet? That said SMTP?
Yes.
Beautiful. Excellent. Nice work. Do we remember the ports? I know it's asking a lot because it's the first time we've seen it, but do you remember the ports?
One was 25.
That's 25, yeah. I'll give you that. SMTP was 25.
110.
110, that gives us pop 3.
And then
993.
143 gives us Rahel. I wasn't going to be so mean as to get into the security protocols, but good work on that one, Kevin. So yeah, those are the three primary ones that we do need to remember. Most common major personal email systems, we always want to remember AOL is in that family, even though it seems like AOL has kind of been gone for.
Yeah, I thought it was obsolete.
I would have thought so too, but it's still out there. It's still hanging on. But yeah, when I was in college, I almost went to work for AOL. They had a big building next to the college here, and kind of hurt my feelings. They didn't hire me, but then I felt better because like 2 months later they ended up closing. I figured I dodged that bullet. But yeah, AOL is still out there. It is still a thing. It's still an email service. It's still considered one of the major players and is on there as an item you select even to this day. So if they ask you which one of these is not an email service, AOL does not fall into that category because it's there. And then also we want to identify some of the common pitfalls. Make sure that your username and password is correct. Make sure you're using the right protocols and port numbers. Those are going to be the big things that'll kind of get you there. And then the other thing is if you're receiving errors, read the errors, and that should kind of lead you to where the problems are originating. So with that, I'd like to open the floor for questions.